Let me get this right.
Um, that's getting into concepts of like, we're physical beings,
Mm-hmm.
um, having a physical experience, or spiritual beings having a physical experience, and a lot of us get caught up. Most of us, let me just say a lot, get caught up most in the physicality. So when we deal with the physicality, we deal with the five senses. I'm talking fast because it's a lot trying to unwind out of my head, and we get through the ego or the persona, we get attached to a lot of things.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like family, friends, organizations,
Right.
our job, our career, our team, my team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So or my fraternity,
Hey, shout
you know
out to the good
my
bros of
my
Kappa.
assembly, all these
Right.
all these
Yeah.
different things, and these are all it's not a good or bad thing. It just is what it is.
Right.
You work it out as you have you go through life, but yes, we do get into ownership of things that we know are only temporal. It's human nature.
Right.
All right,
There-
possessive.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that comes from the creator though, instilling that into us. It's
Okay.
possessive,
Okay.
Right.
right?
I think it's an aspect of it
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
until you're not. You're possessive until you're not. If you ever get to that point.
Okay, I feel like this conversation about to switch over to something. I want to stay on subject. I was good.
But
Okay.
but what I was saying, going back to your point, is like, yes, you're correct. It is your mother. You know what I mean? It is my daughter or somebody's son or whatever the case may be. But depending on who you are, you may get to a place where you realize we're all on borrowed time, and everything returns to where it came from.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And when you
Right.
get to that place, you may come to a term of peace and understanding that, like, listen, nothing really belongs to me.
I get you.
Right.
I get you.
So was it? So
You about
Was
ask
you
a
supposed-
paradox.
so
Right.
so it's almost like, so were you supposed to have a religious idea like that?
When you say like that, what do you mean? Like confined, like a strict.
Let me say the dogma inside it, because certain things in there I understand what is exactly how I would explain certain things. Now they may not explain it like I would explain
Right.
it, but I would say certain dogmas inside of those structures may not what you're supposed to do.
I would say everything is there for a reason.
Mm.
And sometimes we may be privy to the reason, like if you're the priest, or
Right.
what the Jews would say through Mishnah, or
Right.
Africa would say through the griots. It's something that may be known by a certain specific group of people, which may be to protect the masses that they don't share with the masses. And it could be they either know and maintain it over periods of time, or they may
Right.
actually lose some of the actual meaning and it becomes controlling.
Right.
Now, if there is a creator that I believe in, and I'm not pushing that on anybody, that I'm just saying that I believe in, then I believe that at some point in time, based on your dedication and commitment to whatever it is that you're in, and I can't tell somebody, depending on their sincerity and what they are trying to do as far as know the creator, I think you'll be given, if you want to say, understanding that will either get you to understand what these things are and or what they're not. Does that make sense? So you may, I don't want to say surpass, but you may come to a point where these things that were put there for a specific reason, they may not apply to you anymore for you.
Right.
It's not about everybody else. They may need it because we all, again, like we said in the previous weeks, we all have our own learning curve.
Right. And I think you can attest to all four of us. Probably
Right.
we were all in Christianity. I would say, right? Correct.
Yes.
Correct. So I
I
don't
would
know.
say,
I don't know when.
I would
each
say I'm
person
still a
came
Christian.
out.
I'm sorry.
Oh well.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right,
I would say
gotcha.
I'm still a Christian, but not the way somebody expect me to be as a Christian.
Right. Got you.
But
Right.
do you really know what someone else expects you to be as a Christian?
I know when they. I know when they're.
question.
Oh, I
The-
thought you were. Go ahead.
The priest you mentioned, and you mentioned the differences in the dogmas. but some have intentionally polluted the dogmas. It's not just forgetting. It's not just not adding the things that should have been added. Some have polluted the dogma for personal gain.
Mm.
And that has reached the Black church, the Catholic church, the Ifa temple, everything you could possibly name. The priest had the power to pollute because the rulers of society had priests.
Mm.
So when you look at great rulers, like let's take Shaka Zulu.
Right.
We're looking at someone who was very, very lackluster when it came to religion. And it doesn't mean he didn't believe in a creator. If you
Right.
read his poetry, his literature, he believed in a creator. But he also understood that the priesthood could be polluted. And
Right.
everybody in a society looks to the priesthood.
Right. Right.
And what happened in our communities was our youth started seeing the other side. Not to segue, back into
Right.
what we originally were talking about, but they were hearing this opposition of culture, of religion
Right.
that was coming out of the airwaves. And it was constantly saying something different. It was exposing us to cultures. I'm not even going to go to a religious culture. I'll just say New York, like you said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Once they started talking about what he saw the crack vials.
Right.
He was in New York.
Right.
He saw, he's talking about the era where crack ran rampant. Now, I wouldn't be so foolish to say that crack was not running rampant in down South Virginia.
Right.
But what wasn't happening was a slew of artists coming out of Virginia who were rapping about it over the airways. That was coming out of Brooklyn, Harlem, or the five boroughs, period.
Right.
And out of Miami. Then in the 1990s, we had the
South.
NWA.
Right.
the
Oh yeah,
South,
the West
the West Coast.
Coast. Then
Right. So
right.
we were able to be plugged into drug culture, gang culture, and all the while we're sitting on the front pew
Right.
with someone else telling us
Right.
this is the way to structure yourself
Right.
for success and prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
And we like, wait a minute. That's
Yeah.
not really what's happening.
Right.
Those guys weren't our heroes, so to speak. We
Right.
started to look up to the guys who were giving us the truth, so to speak,
Mhm.
because we felt that the priesthood
Right.
wasn't giving us the truth.
Right. Right.
Okay. You asked a question initially, and then you said a lot. What was the question that you asked? Because I was trying to hold it.
It was something about preluding. It's like,
Polluting the priesthood.
oh no,
Nah,
no,
what
no.
wasn't that?
He said, how do others know you're a Christian, or like something to
Oh, right,
that
you asked-
aspect.
Right.
Like,
That was
Oh yeah. Right.
How
That
do you know
wasn't
what somebody
directed-
expects?
right,
Yeah.
but that wasn't directed at anybody.
Okay,
I'm
but-
just saying, like, how do you know what a person expects of you as a Christian? Some expect you to go to church. Some expect you not to curse. Some expect you not to drink. When you really get typical in the Black church, women couldn't wear pants. Some couldn't wear makeup. Some were looked down and frowned upon because they wore jewelry. You couldn't go to you couldn't be in the club on Saturday, then they see you on Sunday in church. It was all these different expectations of what a Christian should and shouldn't be.
Right.
So what I'm saying with that initial question of what I was asking was when you said I'm still a Christian not by what others would expect me to be as a Christian.
Right.
So what I'm saying is how I can't put you in that box. How can someone else put you in that box and say, well, he's a Christian because of, or he's not a Christian because of? So I guess that's really
Right.
It was more
Okay.
of a statement,
You're
but
you're
in
you're
a
right.
question form.
I
You're
got
right
you.
because they have a statement that's in the Christian church. If you don't believe this,
Right.
Mhm.
no, you're not a Christian.
Right. And you get you
and
know,
that's on their
right. And
idea.
I'm a product of that, which is why I made that statement, because to me,
Likewise.
the epitome of a Christian was my mother.
Mm.
Okay.
I mean, walking a path that I knew was the straight path, because I saw her at 3 a.m. in her studies. I saw her go through her ups and downs, but at the same time, she was still a woman and she was still my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So if you tapped her emotions, you might hear her you might hear her lose her sanctification,
Right.
they
Gotcha.
would say.
Yeah.
You know,
I got
but
you. I
at the
understand.
same time, she was the one that would minister in the streets authentically.
Right.
I mean, young teenage boys, young teenage girls, she would pick up and have Bible study at random hours.
Right.
And the kids would flock to listen to her talk because of her presentation. So to me, that was the epitome of the Christian. But at the same time, I would see her say, I'm not going outside and working in my garden in no skirt.
Right.
And I'm going to wear the clothes I want to wear.
Right.
So I saw her define for herself what was Christianity.
Right.
So again, like I said, to go back to what I said, I wouldn't put you in a box to say, I can't tell you how to identify yourself,
Right.
but
Mm.
to say by another person's standards, not to be disrespectful, but I really don't think that matters.
Okay. And right. I agree with everything you said. It's just that the perspective I was coming from was more of I am that to whoever needs me to be that,
Correct.
as far as how I function in Christianity.
Correct.
So the person that would say, well, you don't do this, this, and this, and this, that's their business. That
Right.
it's a statement that I hold on that you say, and you think you got it from your grandmother. What you eat don't make me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's irrelevant to that person, but it's to the person that sees something in me that wants to come and have that discourse to where we share with each other.
Right.
And I think maybe each one of us has a story. Like my
Oh, yeah.
grandmother was the epitome of the Christian woman, and she was, from my definition, very stern.
Right.
You know, it's not like, hey, grandma, how you doing? She'd be like, hey, good afternoon. You read your Bible today?
Right.
Right.
Well, grandma, you don't know how I'm feeling or what's going on in my life. And, well,
the structure.
it's just a structure.
Right.
And I see I'm one of the oldest of my siblings and my cousins that I guess would be first gen Americans.
Right.
So they saw it more as I'm not going over there. I don't really. They were kind of turned off by it because she used to hammer. She believed in Jesus,
Right.
and that was her love of her way of giving love and sharing her love because she knew love through Jesus.
Right.
So coming back to the family structure, I feel like she really, even in that, she really kept a lot of us together. You know what I mean?
Right.
My uncles had to take, they took care of her when we came to the States. When my mom came to Florida anyway.
Right.
It was a family thing.
Right.
So, again, the hip hop, going back to the hip hop, oh man, it's
You didn't even think about that, did you?
no, I
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
And now I'm realizing it's a big catalyst because what it's done is, I think Sifu kind of mentioned it, is like, well, what you're saying is traditional. It's traditional now. It's just a different form.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And what hip hop has done is taken us from a solidified, if you want to say solidified box, because it's going to be loose depending on the racial grouping, culturals, and so on and so forth, to more of a fluidity,
Right.
to where I'm a Christian, but I do have Muslim values and
Yeah.
Hindu. And when I say
Buddhist.
me, yes, me, but I'm saying I've met other people like that.
Right.
Like I'm I've met Ethiopian, if you want to say Christians, that pointed me to India
Right.
for information.
Right.
So it's like, you could take it from a martial arts perspective. When we watched,
Facts.
what was that? he wouldn't learn the other style. He kept
Yes.
going after Priest Pie Mayout with the
Yes.
one style,
Yes.
And it didn't work.
and it didn't
work.
You hear that? The one style
Did not work.
did not work for him.
He trained for 30 years.
30 years.
Right.
So think about that from a religious perspective.
Right.
You're looking at
It didn't work.
the unnameable, unfathomable, unperceivable from one perspective
Right.
in one box with all this dogmatic trimmings
Right.
and denouncing everybody else that has a perspective from a different way.
Right.
And look at their cultures. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
A lot of cultures got devastated by, I keep it blanket, other religions.
Religions. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
By not developing
Right.
Right.
or not evolving
Mm.
or looking at the other perspective, regardless of your own perspective. See, some think I have to let go my base just to listen to your I wouldn't even say base foundations, because when it comes to religion, the base foundations are pretty much the same,
Mm.
which is why hip hop became our Christ. Now, follow me when I say this.
Mhm.
It was very revolutionary, and it turned sons against mothers and daughters against fathers.
Facts.
Ooh.
Facts.
Say it again. Say it again.
Let me go, hold your thought. And remember, he said I used to DJ, and
I said you still a DJ.
well, I still could do it. At that time when I started in the 80s. I mean, I had my first turntables when I was probably about 15 years old. I bought them myself. My mom didn't buy them. I had to go buy them. If I wanted to DJ, I had to get it. But I would play hip hop because that's who I was playing music for.
Right.
Was the people in my age range.
Right.
So the family finds out I DJ.
Right.
They want me to do the family reunion. Oh, I don't know nothing but hip hop right now.
Right.
So I'm playing that. Ain't nobody, the older folks ain't really dancing, but they like to dance because they from the 70s and
Right.
the 60s. So, they still got their boogie.
Right.
They want to hear that too.
Right.